He layered them over recordings of phone calls he had managed to obtain using software he had installed on Amanda's phone without her knowing. As her voice played back in his headphones, Daniel felt both detached and determined. It was like listening to a stranger. He included the photos Amanda and Jake smiling at each other in the gym parking lot, standing too close during a training session, and the intimate moments they thought no one would ever see. He even managed to capture video footage of Amanda meeting Jake late at night. Footage that left no room for doubt. The video became a detailed timeline of Amanda's betrayal, a damning expose that would leave her nowhere to hide. Daniel worked on the video for days, editing each piece with care, making sure the timeline was clear and devastating. He added background music, something subtle and haunting to emphasize the gravity of what Amanda had done. Every detail was meticulously planned, every frame designed to evoke the same sense of betrayal that Daniel had felt when he first discovered the affair. The video was no longer just evidence, it was a weapon. A week before the family reunion, Daniel knew he was ready. He had set everything in motion. The video was saved on multiple devices, ready to be played at a moment's notice. He had even prepared a speech, an anniversary toast that would start like any other, filled with warm memories and sentiments. Before turning into the reveal of Amanda's affair, the final step was the online post. After the video was shown at the reunion, Daniel planned to upload it online, ensuring that it spread far beyond on just their family and friends. He created anonymous accounts on social media, ready to share the video with the world. Amanda's public shaming wouldn't end at the reunion. It would follow her everywhere, a permanent stain on her reputation. As the days crept closer to the reunion, Daniel's anticipation grew. He watched Amanda go through her days, still blissfully unaware that her life was about to come crashing down. The cold, controlled anger inside him had turned into something else, something more powerful. He didn't feel guilty or conflicted. All he felt was a deep sense of justice, a need to make sure Amanda paid for what she had done. By the end of June, Daniel had set everything into motion. There was no turning back now. The family reunion would be the moment of truth, the day when Amanda's secret life would be exposed for all to see. And when it was over, she would have no one to blame but herself. The warm July sun cast a golden glow over the Rees backyard as family and friends gathered for their annual reunion. The Rye home, known for its charm, had always been the perfect place for these events. Lush green grass, a large deck, and a beautiful backdrop of trees that made it feel secluded from the outside world. The scent of barbecue filled the air, and the sound of laughter echoed as relatives caught up with one another, swapping stories and jokes. Kids ran around carefree as Daniel and Amanda played the role of the perfect hosts. Amanda, oblivious to what was coming, was all smiles, dressed in a summer dress that accentuated her fitness. She floated from one group to another, making sure everyone felt welcomed and cared for. Her laughter was bright, her joy seemingly genuine, and no one could have guessed that just beneath the surface lay a secret capable of tearing everything apart. For Daniel, the day was surreal. He moved through the motions like a man who had rehearsed every step. Outwardly, he was the attentive husband, laughing with relatives and playing with his children, but inside his mind was entirely focused on what was about to happen. Every smile, every laugh felt like an act. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the backyard, Daniel knew it was time. The moment he had been planning for weeks was finally here. In the evening, just as everyone had gathered on the deck for the anniversary toast, a tradition the Wrights had kept for years, Daniel stood up. His heart pounded in his chest, but his face remained calm, collected. He had planned this moment to perfection, down to the last detail. His speech began like any other, heartfelt, warm, filled with memories of the life he and Amanda had built together. Amanda, seated in the center of their family and friends, looked at him with tears in her eyes, believing his words were meant to celebrate their love. But as Daniel continued, the tone shifted slowly. The smiles on Amanda's face began to fade, and a look of confusion crept in. The air around them felt heavy, charged with something no one else had noticed. Yet Daniel's voice remained steady as he reached for the remote control he had kept hidden in his pocket. He pressed the button. The large TV screen in the living room flickered to life. At first, there was silence. The screen was black, and for a moment, it seemed like nothing would happen. But then the first message appeared, a series of explicit texts between Amanda and Jake. The screen transitioned to a photo, one of Amanda and Jake embracing, and the gasp from their guests filled the room. One by one, the affair unraveled before everyone's eyes, the timeline of betrayal playing out in real time. Amanda sat frozen, her face drained of color. As the realization hit her, the video left nothing to the imagination. Text messages, photos, videos of her and Jake at his gym, all meticulously pieced together by Daniel. The room, once filled with warmth and laughter, was now consumed by shock. No one moved, no one spoke. The weight of what was happening was too much to process for Amanda. It was as if the ground beneath her had disappeared. The betrayal she had kept hidden for months was now on full display for everyone to see. As the video continued, Amanda's family watched in stunned silence. Friends who had known her for years stared in disbelief, their eyes wide with shock and confusion. The people she had once considered close, the same people who had gathered to celebrate their love, were now witnessing her downfall. Tears began streaming down Amanda's face, her hands trembling as she tried to make sense of what was happening. But there was no escaping it. The evidence was undeniable, laid bare for all to see. Daniel stood at the front of the room, watching her. His face remained emotionless, but inside he felt a strange mix of satisfaction and sadness. This was the woman he had loved for 15 years, the mother of his children, and yet here she was exposed, humiliated. The plan he had spent weeks perfecting had come to fruition. There had been no shouting, no fighting. It was cold and controlled, just like he had intended. When the video finally ended, there was nothing but silence. The room felt heavy, suffocating. Amanda sat motionless, her once vibrant face now pale and tear-streaked. The family, still processing what they had seen, could not bring themselves to speak. It was as if the entire world had stopped, and all that remained was the weight of Amanda's betrayal. As the night wore on, the party that had started with so much joy dissolved into awkward silence. One by one, guests began to leave, unsure of what to say or how to comfort either of them. Amanda remained in the living room, still in shock, while Daniel moved through the house, wrapping up the last few details of his plan. The final step came quietly. Before leaving, Daniel calmly approached Amanda. He told her that he was leaving for a job-related vacation, a business trip that would take him out of town for 2 weeks. It was not a request. He made it clear that by the time he returned, he expected her to be gone. There would be no reconciliation, no more discussions. This was the end. Amanda, still overwhelmed by the humiliation and shame, could barely respond. She knew there was nothing left to save. Their marriage, their life together, had been irrevocably shattered, and now she was left to pick up the pieces of her public disgrace. Daniel left shortly after, walking out into the cool night air with a sense of finality. As he drove away, the house behind him shrinking in the distance, he felt a strange sense of peace. There had been no violence, no heated confrontation, just a cold, calculated moment of justice. His plan had been executed perfectly, and now the entire world knew the truth about Amanda's betrayal. As he drove farther from home, the feeling of satisfaction grew. He didn't look back. There was no need. Amanda's public disgrace would follow her for the rest of her life, and Daniel, finally free from the weight of her lies, could move forward. The cold silence of the night seemed fitting, a reflection of the quiet, controlled anger that had driven him for weeks. And in that silence, Daniel found his closure. This story ends with Amanda leaving town in disgrace, her once perfect life in ruins. Daniel, now free from marriage, moves forward with his life, but not without the lingering scars of betrayal. The public nature of the expose ensures that Amanda's reputation is forever tarnished, and Daniel's calculated revenge becomes the stuff of local legend, a reminder of the dangers of betrayal. This is exactly like that one case where a wife exposed her husband's secret affair with her twin sister at a funeral. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our daily updates.